That's good afternoon and welcome to You and Your Business with me, Alec Drew, on 103.2 Dublin City FM. Each week I invite an expert from the world of business to share their knowledge, insights and tips to help you with your business challenges. If there's a topic you would like covered, or if you feel you can make a contribution, please email me at yourbusiness@dublincityfm.ie. And perhaps we'll be having a chat here one day soon. And my guest today is a registered nutrition practitioner with an MSc in Personalised Nutrition. Wow, that's good. Is a gut brain health enthusiast, an evidence-based self-experimenter. That sounds interesting too. And is passionate about the right foods for you. I'm delighted to welcome Orla McLaughlin to the You and Your Business studio. Hiya, Orla.
Hi, Alec. How are you doing?
Okay, you know the format. I'm going to take you back to your last year in school. Were you the traveling person, the academic, you wanted to get into the workplace? What was going on in your mind the last year in school?
Last year in school, I wanted to go to college. That was a big thing for me. And I went to Galway University and I studied commerce there for 3 years. Which was really, really interesting, really enjoyed it, and kind of specialized in the marketing side of that. So then I did a higher diploma in marketing practice after that with Galway University, and that took me down to Wexford with a placement course. And I worked with a pharmaceutical company doing marketing for them for a year, over a year slightly, but it was brilliant. It was very good. It took me kind of, to different parts on travel and stuff.
Let's take it back to your decision to do commerce. What sort of prompted that? Commerce is just one of these business type studies. Like, were you just marking time, or was there something that triggered your interest in commerce?
I think it was probably when I was younger. My mom had a briefcase and I always wanted to have the briefcase because it was this cool little thing, and there was a code to open it, and I always thought it was very, very professional and loved it. I think that's what brought me down the business path. I always thought, like, if this is what it is, I want to be in business. I think that was the prompt.
So you didn't take the easy route and just go and buy a briefcase. You went on to do 3 years of studying.
Yeah.
I hope they bought you the briefcase after that 3 years of studying.
Well, you know what? Incidentally, I actually haven't bought one, but I do have something similar. But yeah, it definitely sown a seed in my mind, I think, for sure. After that, then I wanted to kind of further myself with marketing. So I went back to Dublin and did a master's in marketing, master's in business with Dublin City University.
Well, let's take me back to, you were doing marketing, but then you were taken into the world of pharmaceuticals.
Yes.
Tell me what that experience was like, and who there perhaps influenced your career going forward.
I found pharmaceuticals, if I'm honest, a very cutthroat kind of industry. It was very, very heavy sales led. And I enjoyed it to a point. It was very rewarding, and like everything was kind of like bigger, or there was a lot of you went to trade shows and they were massive. There's people from all over the world there and stuff like that. And I like that experience was priceless for me. I loved it. But there was a sales guy kind of over me, and he just kind of brought me under his wing, and he was just brilliant. Like, he was so calm and cool, and going in talking to all the cardiologists about various different things. And I learned a lot from him in terms of his way of selling, his ethos. He had a beautiful life and was able to it was really, really nice. So I got like a lot of kind of he taught me a lot. I definitely think.
And you were getting to travel abroad and see trade shows and that, which must have been a real eye opener as well.
Yeah, it was huge. So we went to Paris and we went to Germany, and like meeting people from everywhere, setting up trade shows, setting up your little stand. And for me, it was like getting all the materials ready for that. It was a very, very enjoyable thing. Hard work, but good. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose the one thing about pharmaceutical companies is that they seem to have sort of deep pockets when it comes to marketing, which is not a typical norm for other businesses. Did you find that, or were they just as prudent with their money?
we kind of quite prudent with their money, because there was a lot of research development. The company that I was with at that point had a huge emphasis on research development, because they were trying to do a drug-eluting stent at the time, which was very novel and very new, and they pushed a huge amount of money and resources into that. So selling was obviously next, but like, marketing there wasn't a huge amount of resources there, to the point that, it was kind of the crash was kind of coming, and we were put on half time, as so there was a few things that kind of happened with the industry at that point in my life.
I suppose really you would have learned the craft of networking and its value at that time too.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it was huge. There was loads of different people that were selling our product around the world to different cardiologists. So you were constantly talking to them and, meeting with them. Now, we didn't have Zoom and all of that, but we did have, conference calls and everything. But it was just, it was being able to, that was the network. It was being able to chat to them all the time. It was brilliant.
All right, so you've done that. You kind of finish up your stint there. You decide to take a bit of a break off to Spain.
Yeah. Yeah, I did that for I'd say maybe 3 or 4 months, and lived in Spain, and had a ball, loved it. And then I saw a course that came up in Dublin City University with marketing or business, so I decided to do that, come back and do that, because I think I was always, I'm always kind of an academic at heart. I think, like, I love to learn, and me and the sun don't really agree that well. It's too hot. I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm not built for it. But I did enjoy it. Waking up every day to have heat guaranteed was amazing. But yeah, so came back to Dublin and did a master's in business, and loved that. And then started working again. I worked then for an engineering company, did marketing for them for about a year, and then I went traveling.
Tell me about the engineering company. I mean, you've been in pharmaceutical, now you're seeing engineering, which is a totally different sort of area of business. How did you find that? And again, dealing with the sort of culture of the organization in terms of having a marketing spend, or the differences between the two sectors.
Yeah, huge differences between the two sectors. But the engineering sector, it was all like they manufactured, like, it was sheet metal manufacturing, or sheet metal fabrication, and so it was very hands-on as well, very, very practical. So again, not huge resources for marketing, but we did kind of partner. It took me down a different route in the marketing field. It took me into partnerships and to, that kind of network marketing as well, and getting in touch with various different people and collaborating and stuff, which was brilliant. So I did enjoy it. I definitely did enjoy it. It's a small company though, so there wasn't huge resources there.
I suppose there's a couple of questions come out of that. Number one is probably being a woman in a man's world, in the sense of
yeah.
How did you find that? That must have been interesting.
It was very interesting, actually. There was no female engineers there, and there was only me and another lady in the office. So it was a very male-driven industry, and I guess it was harder to get your point across in a way. But it was definitely still listened to. If that, it was definitely still taken on board. But I was very, young in the world and in my career at the time as well, so I was kind of looking for a little bit more kind of guidance in some aspects, but yeah, still definitely a woman in a man's world, for sure it was.
The other side of it too is, and you tend to find it with SMEs and smaller companies, is their misunderstanding of what marketing is vis-a-vis sales.
Yes, huge. And I think that was almost a misconception at the start, even when I was brought on. Like, it was very much sales driven, whereas I'm not a sales person. I know everyone says that it doesn't like sales. Like, everyone is a seller. Everyone has to be a seller, and you figure that out when you work for yourself. But it definitely wasn't my forte. So I did have a lot of learning to do initially, and kind of try and kind of hinge on to that side of the practice a little bit more in business.
And if you're just joining us now, you're listening to You and Your Business with me, Alec Drew, on 103.2 Dublin City FM, where my guest today is Orla McLaughlin. We're just talking about marketing and sales. I'd just like to spend a minute or two on this. Perhaps you might give your perspective for anybody listening who's an SME. What is marketing? What are sales? So just people can understand the difference between them.
Yeah. Sales is the definite. I think everyone understands sales in terms of it's almost transactional. It's like you want this, you buy it. That's sales. Marketing is the ability to make you buy it. So if simply put that way, it's like, what makes you buy that product? Is it the colors? Is it the story around it? Is it how it makes you feel? For me, that is what marketing means to me. It's the ability to make me want it or buy it. Selling is selling it.
So, marketing is really tapping into the emotive side of people.
Yeah, in my experience, it absolutely is. Like, I was a big believer, like in college, my lecturer absolutely loved Fergal Quinn when we were doing services marketing. And he was just like, Fergal Quinn goes that extra mile. He brings like the umbrella out to, and he like walk customers to the car, he'd carry the shopping. That was all service marketing. That was all building the brand of Super Quinn at the time and making that brand become huge and just an upmarket, lovely brand, and that to me was marketing for sure.
Yeah, so it's really the entire customer experience and journey as opposed to sales, which is about taking the money.
Absolutely, yeah, nail on the head. Yeah, absolutely.
People like taking the money, but they don't have to do the
They do, yeah.
Yeah, but you have to do the other bits if you want to do it. I think it's fair to say that people will more than likely spend far more if you can give them an emotive reason for buying something as opposed to a transactional thing.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's like Revlon. They say we don't sell makeup, we sell hope. It's that.
I must try it on. I suppose that'd be more desperate than hope.
Well,
but again, I get it. It's a bit like why people buy Apple when they can buy less expensive computers. It's the whole experience.
Yes, absolutely.
Anyway, you sort of went off traveling then to New Zealand. How was that?
I did. I traveled then to Australia and New Zealand for a year. I absolutely loved it. It was one of the best experiences ever. It was brilliant. New Zealand for me was very much like here, very much like Ireland. It was, green fields and stone walls and, various parts of it. And then the cities then were lovely as well. So yeah, I absolutely loved that. It was a brilliant experience. Definitely worth doing.
You weren't tempted to stay?
Yes, definitely tempted to stay. I was. Yeah, had it not been so far away and, just various different things at the time, I probably would have. But yeah, my dad wasn't convinced I would have come back either, but he was surprised when I did.
I know it. Yeah, it is far away. And I must say, when I was in Australia, I found the same thing. It's far away.
It is.
And your family, which it's just that little extra bit that otherwise
little extra bit.
You'd live there in a heartbeat.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
So we have to get rid of family.
Or move them, relocate.
No, I don't think. Let's not spoil a perfect place for family. I'll do that. So anyway, you came back and you were doing marketing, but something sort of changed in what took your interest around marketing.
Yeah, like I did my thesis on the negative effects of marketing and how that can kind of impact on children and their health and things like that. So, I just found that when we were younger, like I was outside playing all of the time, and but when I was that wee bit older, then I noticed that a lot of the kids were inside playing video games and they were just being marketed to with various different, products and junk food and stuff like that. And obesity rates were going up. So all of these things I was thinking, and I did my my dissertation on that. And yeah, it brought me down that route then of I wanted to actually pursue health a little bit more, pursue nutrition a little bit more. So that's when I came back from Australia, I changed careers. And I I suppose came back to Dublin when there was, you know, the height of the recession. It was 2009, so there was no marketing jobs really. So it was no one was definitely willing to pay for the fluffy stuff at that point. So, so it was all selling.
I
So
like the
yeah.
fluffy stuff, Orla. I thought there was a science behind it.
So so that's when I changed. Then I did nutrition and did that for 3 years, and then did a master's in personalized nutrition then with Middlesex University. I did that via distance.
If we look at that, what were the sort of eye-opening parts of that for you?
About the choice to do nutrition?
No, once you started immersing yourself in the whole area of nutrition.
The connection between what you eat and how you feel was huge. I had never made that connection before, and I think like one of the biggest things that I've always kind of stuck with me, what someone had told me, is like, if you put diesel into a petrol car, it doesn't function. So if you put loads of processed foods and sugar and things like that into your body, you don't function. You know, you don't have the right raw materials, you don't have the right resources to, you know, be at full health. So I think that's always kind of been a big thing for me. And yeah, it just opened my eyes hugely in terms of the foods that you eat affect how you feel.
And if you're just joining us now, you're listening to You and Your Business with me, Alec Drew, on 103.2 Dublin City FM, where my guest today is Orla McLaughlin. And we're just talking about nutrition. Let's just talk about it. You see, there's either the yin and yang of this, Orla, as you know. It's sort of when people hear about nutrition, they think, well, okay, if I sit in the corner and eat a carrot, that's it sorted for me. You know, I'm eating healthy, but it doesn't have to be as austere as that.
No, definitely not. Like, I'm a big believer in like there is the right foods for you at the right time in your life, because there's no point in you eating, you know, a perfectly healthy diet, kind of quote unquote, but you're in a stressed environment, or you're, you know, you're just, yeah, you're not sleeping and you're flat out with work. You can eat all the good foods that you want, but you're just not going to be as healthy as you can be. So it's a holistic thing. Like, it affects, by holistic I mean it affects all aspects of your life. You need to address like the stress, or you need to address the, you know, the lifestyle choices, whatever that is, as well as then looking at the foods that you're eating.
I think for a lot of people under stress, they often don't realize they're under stress, but I suppose that's triggering maybe bad habits in eating, and that might be the flag for them to have a look at.
Well, yeah, it's convenient when you think about it. You're just like, I have a meeting in 5 minutes, so I'll run down to the Apple Green, I'll grab a sandwich and I'll eat it on the way. Meanwhile, your body's kind of going, okay, I'm really stressed out. I haven't got any signals to figure out that I'm actually digesting the food. I'm not digesting it because my body's thinking about the phone call. So cortisol is ramped up. So there's no energy, or there's no physical energy given to the digestion of that food. So it sits in your gut, it ferments, it rots, and it causes a lot of issues, you know. And that's a very, very simplified version of what actually happens functionally, or physiologically, I guess, when you're eating your food. So, you know, I don't need everyone to be like a Tibetan monk and sitting, you know, in a zen pose, but sitting down for 10 minutes and taking your food is massively important in terms of your ability to digest and your ability to use the nutrition from that food.
So, okay, let's just look at that for a minute, because there'll be a lot of people here in business that'll be listening to what we're saying. So okay, so we're on the move. Unfortunately, this is the way of the world, but you're talking about the importance of literally just taking 10, 15 minutes out, maybe just a bit of calm time, and eat slowly.
Yeah, the reason being is because we have, like, stress affects our nervous system, obviously. So we have our sympathetic and our parasympathetic. So the sympathetic nervous system is the fight or flight, and the parasympathetic is rest or digest. So when your body is in that fight or flight mode, you know, so you're running to your next meeting, you're on a call whilst you're eating, all of those things. Because your body is in that state, that sympathetic state, it needs energy to so it shuts down certain things. Digestion takes way too long, takes about 4 hours. You know, healing tissue repair takes way too long as well. Reproductive repair takes way too long. So it shuts down those systems, and it will give preferential energy to your fight or flight, to your stress response, to get out of there, because your body thinks you're in danger. So then you can eat the sandwich, but you're not going to digest it. Like, you're not going to properly get nourishment. Whereas if you're sitting, your body is in rest and digest, and your parasympathetic state is activated. You're actually able to sit and enjoy and get the nutrition from that, because your body's in a different state. So, thinking about where your body is at when you're giving it food is very, very important. So it can be if you can try and have that balance just for 10 minutes.
Yeah, and it just shows you, I mean, and again, I suppose you're getting a bit of mindfulness going with it. If you can literally take 10 or 15 minutes out,
Absolutely.
sit down,
Yeah.
have your food, just
Yeah.
let your mind clear for 15 minutes.
Know what you're eating. That's huge. Like, rather than shoveling something in and not knowing what it is, like, take the time to just savor and taste and smell it. Even that is different signals and different messages happening in your brain, in your gut.
I mean, we do see people sort of on the fly taking a lot of food, heavily sugar loaded, and then all of these drinks as well that are sort of
Yeah.
supposed to give you energy.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And it does. It gives you a false energy, but it's like the higher highs and lower lows. So it's the crash that is the worst then, So it's trying to stabilize that blood sugar throughout the day, rather than having these peaks and troughs all of the time. Because when you're in a trough, you're just craving more sugar and more sugar. And it's just a vicious cycle then from there. So if you can, like, eat foods that steadily release energy and keep that blood sugar balanced, you're in a much better state energetically, and you're much better. You're less cranky. Let's put it mildly.
Yeah. So I mean, if you don't mind, I'd like to spend a couple of minutes on this, because I know the audience would be particularly interested. And if we were to take a typical day, so somebody's up and, okay, let's say they've done a bit of exercise to kick off the morning, then they have breakfast. Is there a problem having a cereal, or where do we start?
It depends. Cereal is very high sugar. It's a very high sugar, like, simple carbohydrate breakfast, because you're generally having, like, say, a bowl of Rice Krispies or something like that. There's no fat in that, and there's no protein in that. It's all just carbohydrate, which breaks down very quickly. So you're hungry in 45 minutes to an hour later. So then you'll grab a coffee and a muffin. So it's about trying to have those, like, if you had a bowl of porridge instead, it's a complex carbohydrate, so it's harder for your body to break down. It takes more energy to break it down, so you feel a little bit fuller for longer. So it's just that steady release rather than that really rapid release of sugar. So small little changes like that. Look at things like whole grains as opposed to, like, cereals and grains that have had that outer layer removed.
Sure.
So yeah, you can have the cereal, but it would be better if you had a protein and a fat source in that breakfast as well.
All right. So then about mid-morning, we load up with coffee.
Yeah. And again, coffee is not always the demon. And coffee is demonized as well a lot. And it can be, if you're having, like, whatever amount of caramels and sugars and lattes and all of those kind of fancy coffees. Yeah, they're quite calorific and there's a lot of sugar in them. If you're just having Americano, black coffee, absolutely fine. But it depends on how you're taking as well. If it's the first thing you're taking in the morning, it can be very, very stressful for your adrenal glands to process, and it can cause you to be a little bit more jittery and stuff. So again, balance it out with what can you take with it to kind of lessen the after effects on your body.
All right, we've already talked about lunch in terms of, okay, well, take that 15 minutes out if you are on the fly, but just take some time out just to breathe, eat,
yes,
and just get your head straight for the rest of the day.
Yeah, very, very important. And always think about, like, the meals that you're eating. Think about the macronutrients in them. So think about, like, your carbohydrates, your fats, and your proteins. That's what your macronutrients are. So rather than just eating one macronutrient, rather than just eating carbohydrates, can you have a protein source and a fat source with it? So like, salmon and avocados and any kind of meats, nuts, all of those kind of things.
Great. And then, of course, the evening meal, which probably shouldn't be consumed after what sort of time of the evening?
Yeah, again, it always depends, but usually after kind of like 7-8 o'clock, depends. You usually give your body 2 hours to digest. So if you're going to bed at 10, make sure you're not eating past 8. If you're going to bed at 11, generally speaking, I would still say 8 o'clock should be a fairly decent cutoff for dinner.
I suppose we've about 3 minutes left. Believe it, you won't believe that. That's how quick these go.
I know, it's so fast.
Your focus very much though is on food as it relates to your age as well, and
Yeah,
so talk
yeah,
about that.
yeah, like I think that we can, like, obviously aging is an inevitability, but it's slowing down the process of aging with the foods and the lifestyles that we have is very, very doable. It's so aging is it's not preventable, but you can look at it now rather than arrive at 80 kind of without any life left in your years, so thinking about various different aspects of your life, particularly stress, particularly the foods that you're consuming, and just kind of lifestyle choices as well, being able to move around with the grandkids and being able to, what do you want from when you're older, what does that look like for you? So putting the work in now is going to reap benefits further down the line.
I mean, food is just one part of the whole area
Yeah.
of sort of aging in a way that keeps you mobile, keeps you sane, and
Yes.
all of those things.
Yes, oh, absolutely. There's loads of different aspects as well. Like lifestyle choices are huge, stress response and things that you can do within that, being outdoors, nature, all of those things make a huge, huge difference. Community, building relationships, everything.
Right. And again, that I think that's part of this holistic approach you take. It's not just about the food, but you're
Yeah.
also interested in people and keeping their mind active as much as their body and feeding it correctly.
Absolutely. Well, it even kind of comes back to that gut-brain connection, thinking about the health of your gut at the minute and the connection with that brain, because it's a bidirectional system via the vagus nerve. So if you can make sure that your gut health is intact and everything is it's fully functional, you'll avoid things like brain fog and all of these various different things that can kind of happen as we get that little bit older. So making sure that you have good gut health foundationally will really help with your brain and your mental health further down the line as well.
What do you think of these probiotic drinks?
Depending, the drinks, probiotics in general, absolutely fantastic. The drinks sometimes, like the Yakults and those kind of things, can be high sugar.
Right.
So again, I would just look at the person that I'm putting them into in terms of context, like what is their environment? Is there a lot of sugar there already? But generally, they can be good.
All right. Well, I suppose this kind of brings us close to the end of the show. Tell people where they can find out more about you.
So you can find me on all of the different socials, Health by Orla, and yeah, mostly on Instagram. But Health by Orla, and that's my website as well, healthbyorla.ie. So you can find me there.
Well, thanks very much for Orla McLaughlin coming into the You and Your Business studio. Thanks also to Stephen on sound. The podcast of today's show will be available on dublincityfm.ie from tomorrow. Thank you for your company, and please remember to join me, Alec Drew, again next week at the same time, 1 o'clock, right here on 103.2 Dublin City FM for another edition of You and Your Business.